Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Final hour of the week of Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Hope you're enjoying yourself on this 18th day of May 2018, along with Phil Kornblut. I'm Will Pelagic. Professor Tom Hayes has Friday night off this week. South Carolina's game against UNC Greensboro will not start on time tonight in the NCAA Regional because Liberty and Hofstra are running long. They are in extra innings right now over at Beckham Field. No score in the top of the 8th inning. They play regulation 7 there. Winner of that game would take on the winner of South Carolina and UNC Greensboro tomorrow in the 1-0 game, as it were. Before we get George Bryan on the line for our weekly visit with Birdies and Bogeys, possible end to a bizarre recruiting situation involving South Carolina, Corn.
Yeah, we've been waiting on some information today on Trey Wilkins. I've continued to monitor that situation ever since he announced on his Twitter page back in April that he was committed to South Carolina, but USC apparently never accepted it. Will Muschamp never put out his Spurs up notice on Twitter to indicate that a commitment had been made and a commitment had been taken. So today, just a little while ago, Corey Johnson, who is the recruiting coordinator and assistant coach at Stevenson High in Stone Mountain, Georgia, put out this tweet. Stevenson linebacker Trey Wilkins is reopening his recruiting, and South Carolina is no longer welcome at Stevenson High School. So that is his statement. Now, before you Twitter nut jobs start streaming up out of the sewer and coming at me, I'm just repeating what is on Twitter from the assistant coach there, who's been talking to us and telling us about what's happening from their end. And his opinion and their belief was that South Carolina was interested in the player, that they had talked to the recruiting coach for the area and to the defensive coordinator, and thought they had an understanding on a commitment for this kid back in early April. That's their story. South Carolina's story apparently is none of that is true.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why you, as a high school and as an assistant coach and as a player, put yourself out in the public like that unless you believe something. On one hand, I don't think you just make that up out of whole cloth, especially when you've been dealing with a school that has recruited your school and your players successfully for many, many years. So
it's a bizarre thing.
It's a very bizarre thing.
I've never seen anything like it.
I'm just telling you, this is what they're saying. South Carolina, of course, with the rules, they can't say anything about any recruit until they're actually signed. So they can't come out and say publicly, we never recruited this guy, we never offered him, we never wanted him. Now their insiders can put that stuff out on their websites, and that's what they've done. That's probably what they'll do here in response to this. So anyway, somebody's lying, but that's the story coming out tonight from the assistant coach there at Stevenson High in Stone Mountain. Apparently USC no longer welcomed at that school, according to this assistant coach, assuming he has the say in that. I don't know about the head coach and what kind of thoughts he has on it.
Given how shady this all played out, I don't know if South Carolina necessarily wants to be there, given how shady it's. Again, it sounds shady. I hate to say that, but why would you make up a commitment if you're the kid?
The whole thing is just bizarre. Yeah, I agree with you. And this is a school that, if you go by what they put out, has a lot of talent, has a lot of big time players now and coming up in the future. So I don't know what happened. Totally, I can only go by what I'm getting from the high school side, because the college coaches aren't supposed to discuss what they're doing with individual recruits, at least from the standpoint of providing that kind of information. I'm not in a position to get that from the South Carolina side of things. So I can only go by what they're saying. And high school coaches, I mean, seldom do they lie about something like this, but I guess occasionally they can. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm only putting out there what was put on Twitter a few minutes ago.
Natural transition here to golf. We bring in our.
Well, there's not a lying that goes on in golf.
Our usual. No, golf is an honorable game. There's no lying in golf. They're at the Byron Nelson Championship this week in Dallas. Mark Leishman, the Aussie, has a 15 under par score through 2 rounds, a 1-shot lead on Aaron Wise. Brian Gay, 2 shots behind. Jimmy Walker and Eric Axley tied for 4th, 4 shots off the lead. George, what's going on? What you been looking at this week?
Well, I'm really, really thrilled, and I appreciate you guys picking me up there with what's going on the tour now. From Vancouver Island a couple weeks ago, last week TPC, this week I'm on the way to the movie with my beautiful wife, and high school golf is the report from downtown Irmo. So hey, but you know what I have to say, that there are a lot of bizarre things that go on in golf, and for all those who hadn't tried it, if they're listening, they need to go out and just play. If you want to experience a great game with some just bizarre things can happen on the golf course. I like that terminology, and I want to recognize high school players from Lancaster, and they had the last couple of weeks, all the schools, private schools, public schools, conducting the golf championships. And men, if you've already covered this, I'm so proud of you. But if you haven't, you're getting ready to find out that Lancaster won the 4A state championship, boys on the boys' side, at the Hackler course. And the young men on that team, Simon Wright, Nick Magano, Mason Tucker, Brady Hinkle, Tracy Crenshaw, or Trey Crenshaw. What they do high school golf is 5 players tee it up. They take the best 4 scores, and these players shot 600. Now, in runner-up, Myrtle Beach, finishing in 3rd, AC Florence. Speaking of AC Florence, I ran into Harry Huntley at TPC, and he was out watching golf. Saw him on the second hole of the par 5, and AC4 has won numerous state championships. Hartsville finished 4th, and rounding out the top 5 was Wren. Now, when it comes to the individual champion, it's kind of odd about golf. They have both team and individual. It's something that maybe they should consider doing away with. I think team competition is better.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal opinion. At the high school level specifically, I'm sure there are a lot of naysayers out there. Let me see here. It is Brandon Masters from Wren shooting 73, 71, 144. In second place, Nick Poole of AC4, tied with Mason Tucker from Lancaster at 146. Men, I got to head to the movies with my lovely wife.
Are you cutting it short on us? Are you
Yes,
playing through? Is that what you're doing?
I'm putting out and moving to the next tee. Where I'm going is more important. I love you guys, but I don't have to live with you all.
I understand.
Understand. Thank you, GB. Appreciate it.
See them high, shoot them low.
I wanted to thank you, George. I wanted to take a look at some of the other locals playing out at the Byron because Two Gloves is back.
Yes.
We haven't seen him on the tour in a while. 1 under through his work today. He still has 3 holes to play, so good luck to him. DJ Trahan finished at +1.
Below the cut line.
65 for DJ. What is the cut?
-3.
Okay, well, he's still got a chance.
Yeah, he does.
Again, he does. He's got to finish strong. Ben Martin didn't make the cut. He finished at 2 over. Kyle Thompson getting a start. He's at +2. He's got a few holes left. And Sam Saunders, -3 after 74 today. He's right on the cut, as is Bill Haas, 3 under. Jonathan Bird, who shot 65 yesterday, is 4 under for the tournament, and he still has 2 holes to go. Matt Atkins out of Aiken is 6 under after a 67 today. So those are the guys from the state who are still involved in that tournament.
Alex is calling in Somerville. Alex, you're on Sports Talk. What's up, man?
I'd say kudos your last caller. I just love golf. It's just a great game. I grew up in Folly Beach, and my father, like on the back where the marsh was, the backside of Folly Beach, we had an oceanfront home too. We rented out. My father thought golf was boring. You know, he was into biology and all this. So I made my own golf course actually, and I continue to play golf. It's just a wonderful game. And so kudos your last caller. But I'm calling the reason I'm calling. I want to call about what you were talking about, Mr. Pelagic, about the Panthers Stadium. But before that, I just want to say, I do not listen to many talk radio shows. I really don't.
Alex, we're gonna have to put you on hold, but we'll come back. We'll come back to you after the break because we are. I want to get to your question. I want to get to your answer. Make that happen, and after that, we'll talk to Monty Lee, head coach of Clemson baseball.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. Monty Lee in just a moment, Clemson's baseball coach. But I did want to get this answer from Alex, or at least the answer to Alex's question. Now, Alex, real quick, what was your question?
Okay, real quick. Real quick. What you talking about last night about the Panthers, you said correctly that like if some of the stadium was in South Carolina, it'd make a difference. I was born and raised here in South Carolina in Charleston. Initially, about when they were going to build the first stadium, they were to put half of it in South Carolina, half of it in North Carolina. I don't give a rat's ass about the Panthers because I'm a South Carolinian. It's how we are. If they put part of that seat in South Carolina, I'm one of those like silly little bumper plates that says #1 fan. Okay, I'm all over the Panthers. But if they're listening, hopefully, I don't know, please put part of that stadium in South Carolina, and I'm on board, and I'm going to your games. Other than that, I don't care about you because you're North Carolina, not South Carolina. All right, I'll hang up and listen to your question. Well, I can't listen because there's something else coming on the radio down here in Charleston. But have a nice day.
Appreciate it.
Well, you can find us somehow, some way.
You can listen to us on
If
TuneIn
you're
Radio.
creative. Yeah.
The simple answer to that question is it's not going to happen because they're going to keep the stadium on the same plot that it is, but it is what it is. It is now time to welcome in the head coach of the now ACC Atlantic champion Clemson Tiger baseball team. Monty Lee joins us here on Sports Talk live from the Steel City. I just want to know, Monty, have you had some Permane Brothers yet?
I did, actually. I ate a Romancy Brothers sandwich on Thursday night after practice. A good friend of mine that played with at the College of Charleston, a Pittsburgh native, and suggested it to me. So I went there, and I felt terrible afterwards. But it was,
I can identify.
Really good. We're actually just brought the team over to watch the Pirates and the Padres play tonight. So we're all over here watching the Pirates and enjoying a good time together after a big series win for us today.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat trip for the guys, is it not? I mean, let's face it, Pittsburgh, the Panthers, even though they've qualified for the ACC tournament for the first time, it's not a baseball program that gets a lot of attention. It does not appear like they draw a lot of fans. But when you go up there, I mean, you get to take in some of the flavor of a major league city, and in this case, get to go to a ball game.
Well, we actually were staying at the Renaissance Hotel, which is right across from the ballpark. So, and we did that on purpose. Just we knew that we were going to be playing a day game on Friday, so we purchased tickets for the guys and wanted to make sure that we could give them, something that's pretty cool, that's a little bit different than your typical 3-game road series. When you come into Pittsburgh, if you get a chance to do something like this, it's kind of one of those once-in-a-lifetime type opportunities for our guys. Most of our guys have been to a Major League Baseball game, but, who knows if they'll ever get a chance to, see the Pirates in Pittsburgh. So it's just one of those unique things that we try to do for our guys from time to time when we get an opportunity to do this. So pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so 2 wins in 2 games against the Panthers. A big offensive explosion yesterday. Not so much today, but you had enough, and you got some very good pitching. And so you win that series. You can go for the sweep tomorrow. How do you sum up the 2 games?
Well, our pitching was very, very good today. Brooks Crawford gave us a great start. Spires was good for us out of the pen again. And Gilliam, we used Gilliam to close the ball game out of the 9th. So our pitching really over the 18 innings here has been outstanding outside of 1 inning. We gave up a big inning in the 6th yesterday. And our offense has been very, very good. I mean, we put together a big inning in the 1st today. Their starter settled in. He had really good stuff and kind of held us at bay. Seth hit another home run today in the 8th. But, for the most part, again, we pitched and defended well. We obviously swung the bats very, very well in game 1. I think we hit 6 home runs and scored 16 runs. But as we all know, momentum in the game of baseball is the next day's starter. And their starter today was pretty dang good. Their bullpen was good today, and it's tough to score regardless if you score 16 runs in 1 game. It's tough to score the next day if the pitchers are executing pitches and doing their job. So today was more of a pitching and a defense-oriented day, and we've been pretty consistent in that regard all year and won the series.
They always say if you're better than 500 on the road, you're doing things right. You have obviously been very well on the road. You have the 2nd least amount of road losses among teams inside the conference. What is the secret?
I think it's our routine. Just we have a very, very consistent routine with what we do when we travel, how we practice on Thursday night, our schedules on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're just very, very consistent on the road. And I think our guys, just kind of buy into consistent routines week in and week out. And it just seems to be working for this team and this year.
Talking with Monty Lee, Clemson baseball coach. Tigers 4-1 winners up at Pittsburgh today. You got a couple of injury things still going on. Meredith remains out. Update us on him. And also Hennessy missed his start yesterday. What's his status?
Yeah, we got 3 key players out right now. Hennessy has some inflammation. He should be fine. He's going to play catch probably, I would say, tomorrow or when we get back. He should be fine for the ACC tournament. We just felt like it was the best thing for us to do to give him a break, give him some rest. He needed a few days off. His velocity was down in his last start. Had some inflammation. Just felt like he needed some rest. Kier's getting close. He hit in the cages today. He felt okay. We're hoping he'll be able to take batting practice tomorrow, and we are hoping to get him back by the ACC tournament. We'll keep our fingers crossed. It's really just going to depend on how he progresses over the next few days. And Grayson Bird's been out too. Grayson has been battling a quad injury pretty much all year long. That's why he's DH'd a lot for us this year, but he's been out as well. So we're just hoping we can get Bird and Kier back healthy and Hennessy back healthy for us by ACC tournament time so that, we can have all our guys ready to go.
One of the things that's been very interesting to kind of see the evolvement over the course of the season. I know that you went into the year really not knowing what your pitching staff was going to be, but right now it seems that not only do you have some solidified roles as your starters there, it's very, very rare that you go through a season, you don't necessarily change up where your starters are for the most part, but you have an embarrassment of riches in the bullpen. How has that developed, and how have you developed confidence in those guys?
Well, we felt like going into this year, even though we lost about 400 innings of starting pitches, we felt like the strength of our team would be our bullpen. We actually felt very, very good about the bullpen pieces that we had. We felt like we had a number of guys that kind of fit as 1 to 2 inning type guys. So we felt pretty good going into this year. And, Andrew even said it in the fall, and I give him all the credit in the world. He said, look, we're going to have a starting pitching staff of guys that are going to give us 4 to 5, and we're going to have to go to our pen. And that's exactly what we've done. And we kind of embraced that and accepted that early on, just looking at our personnel and just understanding that that's what we were going to have to do. And it's worked out pretty good for us, sitting here with 42 wins and in first place in our division. And a huge part of that is because when we have a lead, we tend to hold on to the lead because our pitching has been so good out of the pen. And this is the best defensive team we've had in my 3 years here at Clemson. We have a pretty consistent defense that makes all the plays behind our pitching staff.
All right, so you got the tournament next week. Then you get down to the real serious business. And look, you're a lock for hosting a regional. And some projections have got South Carolina getting into your regional. Would you welcome the Gamecocks with open arms?
Hey, we'll welcome anybody with open arms. Hosting is always a great thing and a great reward for any team. You only get 16 of them out of the field of 64. And, we feel like we're in a position to do that. Whoever they send to us is who they're going to send to us. We don't have any control over it. We'll be excited about, the 3 opponents that we have coming into Clemson.
Yeah, one projection had Oklahoma State. That had to kind of, memories are long there. You remember what happened last time they came through?
Yeah, I do. And what happens this year versus what happened 2 years ago has no bearing, as you know. So,
yeah.
Every year is different. Every team is different. We'll let everybody else worry about the past.
Yeah. Well, listen, good luck in your game tomorrow going for the sweep. And thank you for being with us. And we'll have you covered up at the ACC tournament in Durham as well and on into regional play. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you
much. Monty Lee, from one Monty to the other. We go from the Clemson baseball field to the NASCAR pavement as the NASCAR gentlemen are in Charlotte this weekend. We'll talk to Monty Dutt and the full Monty on NASCAR coming your way next here on Sports Talk.
The latest on this weekend's race is around the corner. The full Monty on NASCAR is next. This is Sports Talk.
Welcome back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Before we get to Monty, I do want to at least point out that kind of an update to one of our bigger stories here today. We talked about this earlier. Corey Johnson, the recruiting coordinator at Stevenson High School in Georgia, is set to join us at 7:45. He's going to expound upon his tweet about linebacker Trey Wilkins, who says he's reopening his recruiting. And they also said South Carolina is no longer welcome at Stevenson High School. We have some questions, and hopefully maybe can get some answers, even though they might be one-sided as they may. That's about as much as we can possibly do just as a public service to at least try and bring some clarity to a very murky situation. But for that, we head to the NASCAR gentleman and Monty Dutton.
Welcome in, Monty Dutton, the full Monty on NASCAR as we head into the All-Star Weekend in Charlotte. Monty, how are you?
I'm just happy that there's a murky situation, that NASCAR is not involved.
There's plenty of that to spread around. Are they going to get any racing in this weekend?
I think that they, basically on looking at the forecast, not that I'm a staff meteorologist, but I would say it's the type of situation where it may take delay, it may take Sunday, but, usually when there's, 60%, then that just means it might be a pain in the rear. And there might be, last year I went to this weekend, I went up there and it was just like this. About the only time that anything was going on was when they were racing. And for a person who hadn't been to the track in a while and terribly wanted to hang out in the garage area and talk to people that I've known and renew acquaintances, it was awful because everybody was, back in their motor coaches. And so I expect that this weekend is going to be something like that. Yeah,
we got qualifying going on now for the All-Star race. Of course, they have changed up the rules. I've quit trying to keep up with the rules for the All-Star race, so I don't know what rules package Charlotte is implementing to try to put some more excitement into this thing. I mean, they continue to try to come up with ways to make it an intriguing event. Do you think they've done so this time?
Well, it's certainly going to be a change. The biggest problem that the All-Star race has is that everything they ever did is used in all the races now. Stages, segments, the regular races have stolen what's under the All-Star race had left. So what they're doing this time is doing something similar to what they did with the nationwide cars, trying to make them not bore everybody to tears at Indianapolis last year. And they made it where they put huge spoilers and slowed the cars down and tried to make it more like a plate race. And so the Cup cars are going to have plates on them, and they're going to be going a lot slower. And there's, with the big hole they're punching in the air, the idea is that they'll be able to pass because they'll be able to draft past people. Now, ever since I covered racing, to some extent or another, NASCAR has bounced back between these two extremes. They either have a situation where, they've slowed them down, anybody can drive a car, it's taking the skill out of it, it's all the engineers. And then they go and they say, well, by gosh, we're putting the drivers back in it. And when they do that, guess what? The best drivers win all the time. And so I think that I would rather them just set rules and let the people who work on the cars, to me, it'd be more of sort of a free enterprise situation where you let people use their skills as mechanics and give them more leeway. And I just think that the sport, like you said, I'm done keeping up with the rules. I think America is, but I do think that I think it might be a much more interesting race, but I also think that all the cars that race in the top series of NASCAR ought to be hard to drive. And when they're going, 15 miles an hour slower than last year, I think it increases the likelihood that there'll be surprise winners, but those surprise winners will be based more on somebody just who hits it right, or, there haven't been that many strategy and gas mileage races recently. And I think that this will make if this works, and it's a huge success, and they adapt this to other places, like Cup for Indianapolis, where, you know, the sport is dying. I think that it will shake things up, but whether there'll be a long-term effect, it just seems like nothing works because they've changed so much that people have just tuned out.
We're talking to Monty Dutton, our weekly chat on NASCAR with him here on Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. I'll ask it this way. Do you think that this event has outlived its usefulness?
I think it has right now. I think that the All-Star race, there's a lot of things that people never say because they don't do it. Like, for instance, one of the reasons that All-Star race has not moved to other tracks is because when they have those secondary races, the Open, they pay big money for the winners, but they don't pay much money for most of the people in it. And so having it where it's in Charlotte, where everybody just comes over from their shop, it makes less of a hardship. And so nobody is going to say, we're not going to put it in Iowa because it costs too damn much money. But that's the truth. And so you know, what it's just become is just a big albatross. But still, I always have to say, you know, and everybody says, oh, they've got too many 1.5-mile tracks. There's too many tracks like that. See, I remember when tracks like that had good races. I remember when the Winston was one of the highlights of the year. I remember that a list of the 10 best races of the decade would have 4 or 5 of that All-Star race. So I think they need to fix the problem, not just write it off. And besides that, the 1.5-mile tracks are the palaces of the sport. They have a lot of money invested in them. And you know, there are a lot of fans who just basically think, you know, close them all down. Open up North Wilkesboro. Bring back Rockingham. Let's race on dirt tracks. Well, these are people who are not paying those bills.
Yeah, they're living in the 50s and 60s, so they need to catch up with the modern times.
Pie in the sky, too.
Yeah. So you hearing anything out of the garage area today heading into the weekend? Anything that will bleed over into next week when we get down to the serious racing and getting ready for the 600?
I think that you could not have 2 more different weekends and have it on the same track already because you go from the shortest race and the most jazzed up to the longest endurance race. And now you're going to have those 2 races under incredibly, very broadly different rules. And so I don't really think what happens has almost anything to do with that. And I just, you know, I mean, to me, it's less than ever. I'm parked at the okay, good. Somebody else. I just parked at the American Legion hut, talked to you on the radio. Yeah. And now one of the local officers just stopped by, so I might be looking suspicious here, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
You would never look suspicious.
We've had some bad luck today. We had George who's gone his way to a movie. We had Monty almost getting pulled over.
And Monty just put out a new novel, did you not?
Yes.
Tell us.
Not complimentary of policemen either.
Tell us about your new book.
It's called Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And it just comes from my realization that everything in life is that way. There's a million things where if you just shut up, mind your own business, you'll be fine, people tell you. And so it doesn't have anything to do with the controversy regarding gays in the military. It's just about several people who get involved in this thing that's much bigger than they ever imagined, and it mushrooms into an international conspiracy involving crooked cops and Russian spies and assassinations and everything else. And it all just starts with 4 fairly random people who mostly don't know each other, although 2 of them do. And they get wrapped up in this. It's very much ripped from the headlines. It's contemporary, and I'm not saying that's the way things in America are right now, but I'm saying that if you look at them a certain way, there's a lot of things in this book that will look familiar.
All right. Hey, we got to go. Thank you, Monty. Great stuff as always. Monty Dutton, the full Monty with us here on NASCAR.
Stevenson, Georgia, recruiting coordinator Corey Johnson will join us next.
The guys are always checking email. Send your comments or questions to talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, more of Sports Talk from Columbia's Main Street.
All right, so we're just going to come out here and say this. We really don't know the real situation that caused Trey Wilkins to claim a commitment from South Carolina, and then South Carolina to basically say, we have no idea what this is about. And now, which has caused the recruiting coordinator from Stevenson High School in Stone Mountain, Georgia, to say that South Carolina is no longer welcome. But when we don't know about something, we go directly to the source, Corn.
Yeah, Corey Johnson joining us. Let me just give a quick background. And this created some controversy here in the state of South Carolina when this first came out. But Trey Wilkins, linebacker from Stone Mountain Stevenson, back on February 13th, tweeted out a commitment to USC, which we reported on, like we do all commitments that players put out on their Twitter pages. We treat it just like anything else. We talked to him. We talked to the coaches, his assistant coach and his recruiting coordinator, Corey Johnson, somebody I've talked to many, many times over the years about a variety of players, many of whom he has sent to South Carolina and many of whom have gone on to play major college football. But there was no Spurs up acknowledgement from Will Muschamp, and that got people wondering. And then the USC website insiders wrote that South Carolina had no interest in Trey Wilkins, had not offered him, hadn't been talking to him for months. From talking with Coach Johnson and Wilkins, they just kind of disputed that, and so anyway, this is what today they had their spring game yesterday, and today Coach Johnson put out a tweet saying that Trey Wilkins has reopened his recruiting. And that South Carolina is not welcomed at Stevenson High School any further. And now Coach Johnson is with us here. Corey, did I give an accurate depiction of how things kind of played out there? Can you tell me if I'm right, wrong, or add something to it?
It's pretty accurate description. We are South Carolina had offered. We came down on an unofficial visit earlier in the spring, and we've got about 8 kids that they offered. And everybody went through the little process of going in and talking to Coach Muschamp, and he offered all the kids. So, Trey's gone through, he did his due diligence in terms of visiting other schools, and he came down to a couple of schools that he was interested in. He made the necessary calls to the people that he needed to speak to, and everything was fine with the individuals that we spoke with, who had the ability to take the commitment. And we got a call the next day saying that Coach Muschamp wanted his assistant coaches to come down and meet with him. Trey had a wrist injury, and he wanted to come down to see him to make sure that the kid had healed properly. He didn't want to get burnt. I understood that. So it was a whole quiet thing. And I just, what people have to understand is South Carolina is a university. They can pick and choose whomever they want to. Our kids are the people that are the folks that I am put at past the guard. And, I know South Carolina has their faithful. I got probably about 200 tweets that I'm being selfish, but at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to take care of these kids, not some adults that work for South Carolina. And if I feel that South Carolina is not right in terms of what they're doing, what they've done, it's my responsibility to turn around and shield my kids from that.
Why did Trey tweet out a commitment when he did back in April? I mean, was he clear with the Gamecock coaches, starting with Muschamp and Travaris Robinson and anybody else that was involved in his recruiting? Did he understand that they wanted him and would take him, or was he mistaken in that belief?
Before Trey even tweeted anything out, I personally spoke with two of the coaches involved, and everything was fine. Everything wasn't put in question until the following day. And these two individuals that I spoke with had the ability to take the offer. They weren't position coaches. They weren't they weren't GAs. They were persons of authority with South Carolina. And for some reason, Muschamp decided to put it on. He wanted us to put on hold until he actually saw the kid at practice, which, you know, it was something that happened. They came by, stayed for a couple of minutes, and they gave me a call and told us what they were, you know, what their intentions were. And it's, you know, the kid's got offers. He's going to play against. He's either going to play with South Carolina or play against them with somebody in the SEC. So that's not my concern. You know, a lot of folks are saying we're limiting opportunities for the kids. No, we don't, because if South Carolina wants them, the other schools in the SEC is going to want them also. So I'm not too worried about limiting his opportunities, but I am worried about the practice of coaches giving out offers and saying different things and messing over kids, and then turn around, coming back in 6 months and act like nothing ever happened. That's not going to happen at our school. We lead the state of Georgia and kids going to school. We're going to continue to lead the state of Georgia kids going to school, and we're going to continue to protect our kids.
Stevenson High School recruiting coordinator Corey Johnson joining us here after the announcement that Trey Wilkins is reopening his commitment. So from your standpoint, number one, he had a committable offer. How does that communication break down from South Carolina's perspective? Did they give an offer that they didn't think he would take? Or how, in your mind, did that communication break down from where you thought the gentleman had a committable offer to where they said, no, that's not a committable offer?
Well, first off, you know, when either a kid has an offer that, I mean, to play for when, you know, I've been doing this now for probably about 12 years. And if a kid doesn't have an offer, don't say it. There's no such thing as a committable and non-committable. If a kid doesn't have an offer, he doesn't have an offer. But when a grown man sits in front of a group of kids and say, hey, I want all you guys have offers, we want you to, then stick by what you're saying. Don't come back later on and change it. The line of communications is very clear. Every coach that I deal with on South Carolina staff has my number. If at any point in time there's an issue, just pick up the phone and say, hey, you know, we like the other kids, but we're not going to be able to take Trey. Never would have gotten to this point. Trey would have never committed to a school that he didn't feel like wanted him. This kid spoke to, and I'm not going to name coaches, but this kid spoke to two coaches of authority, and they were like, hey, that's right. We want you, you know, we're good with everything, only to have it come back the next day and it's something different. Now it's, well, we want to come down and watch you because we've been burnt before with kids that come out of high school with injuries, and we want to make sure. And, you know, those are just, you know, that's just something that we just got to, I'm like I said, I'm tasked with making sure my kids are not put in jeopardy about stuff.
All right, Corey, let me ask you real quick, got about 30 seconds. Have you talked to South Carolina in the last day or so about this before you put out your tweet?
I mean, they were at the games. They were at the games last night. Okay. So, you know, it's and, you know, I want to say this. It's nothing against South Carolina, but at the same time, I got to look out for my own kids. You know, we sent you guys Mike Davis, the Warner brothers, the Demetrius Marcus, Kyle Fleetwood. We sent you a ton of kids, but it's just that, you know, I can't, you know, when this kid, when they spoke to whoever they spoke to, and this kid turns around and puts it out, South Carolina fans attacked the kid.
That they did.
I didn't appreciate that then, especially when he did what he was supposed to do.
We got to, I'm sorry, we have got to go because we're just short on time now, but we thank you so much for being with us, Corey. We appreciate it.
We'll have to circle back this on Monday. Very bizarre situation.
Have a good weekend. Tonight's show folder? Okay. Guess I got to write a story. Fudge. Sounds good. Just let me know when you want to come by. No start. I'm coming. I'm coming. Alpha Wolf. Now it says Alpha Wolf. Wolfpack can't. Wolfpack. What is this? And look at the Wolfpack and Alpha Wolf prospect. All something very common. Okay. That's such a complicated story. It's hard to. See, how can you decommit when your commitment was never taken? You know? But I'll kill your camera up there, by the way. Yeah. Kill your camera. And I should make